Hello and welcome back to another fantasy football video. Hope everyone is doing well. Now the international break is a time for many of us to ponder our FPL teams and a time for some of us to hit that wildcard button. Today I'm going to be taking a look ahead to game week 9 at a wildcard draft. Firstly, I'll reveal the team and then we'll discuss the topics as shown on the screen. If you are new around here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really does help me out. And let's get straight on into this one. So the structure of this team allows for plenty of depth and potential rotation as required. It is quite an expensive team, so if you can't quite afford it, then you can find value in dropping the likes of Pope down to Guaita or Anderson down to a 4 million defender. The three attackers, Haaland, Tony and Mitrovic, for me are firm holds until the World Cup. Haaland is a very obvious pick and most people are going to be having him in their teams and most likely captaining him. The other two, over the span of 7 game weeks, I would expect them to be getting attacking returns. I'd rather not deal with the variance of swapping in and out attackers. I'd rather just hold them until the World Cup and they should get you those attacking returns. Now Mitrovic has had a little bit of an injury scare with Serbia, however he did play earlier today, so he seems to have shaken that one off and looks good going forward past the international break. Now in the midfield, the most noticeable picks for me are Zaha and Maddison, both of whom have good fixtures post the international break, and both of them have actually been in pretty decent form so far this season. That is especially good considering that Maddison, for example, is currently a part of the worst team in the Premier League, Leicester, currently sitting bottom, and Zaha and Crystal Palace have had arguably one of the worst, if not the worst, opening set of fixtures. Martinelli, for me, at that price bracket between 6 and 7 million is still the best option. Now, he has dropped off a little bit in the last couple of games, so he'll have to perform over the next couple of game weeks in order to keep that spot. But Arsenal do look good going forward. Andreas is an enabler for me, and I do prefer him to the likes of Leon Bailey, just because of consistency of minutes and the upcoming fixtures that Fulham do have. In the defence, we have a few popular picks in the likes of Cancelo, James and Trippier. Trippier, who is now actually 45% owned in the game. Under Potter, it looks like Reece James is virtually going to be playing in that right wing spot, and so he could become pretty essential very soon. Chelsea have a decent set of fixtures after the international break, so I really do like Reece James going forward. Cancelo has been pretty solid since game week 1, so there's absolutely no reason to be getting rid of him. Newcastle have been a little bit up and down in terms of clean sheets, but with the potential of attacking returns and bonus points, it seems like Trippier is going to be a pretty decent option to own. Anderson has a good set of fixtures post international break up until the World Cup, and so he allows you to have a bit of rotation if you so require, and Nico Williams is a pretty good enabler. I do prefer Patterson, but over the international break he did get injured and it seems like he's going to be out for 6 weeks, and with him potentially being out for 6 weeks is not enough to justify putting him into our teams. So then it begs the question of, do we go for, well, firstly, do we go for a premium midfielder? And secondly, do we go for Salah or KDB? So firstly, as you can see here, I have gone for the premium midfielder, and the premium midfielder I've gone for is KDB. Now, in the immediate set of fixtures, De Bruyne looks like the more favourable asset to own. Now, I am considering transferring De Bruyne to Salah come game week 12. De Bruyne does blank and Salah does have a nice swing of fixtures. If you can enable yourself to have that money in the bank so that you only have to use one transfer to go from De Bruyne to Salah, I definitely consider doing that. It is 0.6 million in order to make that transfer happen. For now, I would be sticking with De Bruyne playing against Manchester United and Southampton at home in the next 2. Now, there is some potential that he does get rotated in those games. However, with the depth that we've allowed us in this team, it is worth taking the risk because the potential points that De Bruyne can get in those games is quite high. Then we beg the question, do we go for Trent. The most popular way that I have seen of getting Trent into the team is by dropping one of the attackers, Tony or say Mitrovic, down to Solanke and then upgrading one of your defenders. Now Liverpool have Brighton, Arsenal and Man City in the next 3 teams that have been looking particularly good going forward this season, and Liverpool have shown a lack of defensive solidarity thus far, and Trent has not been getting the attacking returns that we've seen him do in the past to cover that lack of defensive returns. And so for me, he does not justify the 7.4 million price tag that is on his head. That is not to say that at some point you won't justify it, but just in the immediate future he does not appeal to me. And I would say that the combination of Solanke and Trent isn't as good as, say, the combination of like a Mitrovic and an Anderson. Then we bear the question, well, who are the best attackers? I've obviously gone for the 3 here of Haaland, Tony and Mitrovic. So in my mind, it's who is better than those 3. I don't think there are, because I've gone for these 3, or at least who are the next best options. Now, Gabriel Jesus, I think, is a close second to either Tony or Mitrovic. If I could afford him in this team, I may well go for him over Ivan Toney. I think Mitrovic, I think Mitrovic is actually a better option than him. Jesus is still going very strong in terms of ownership, over 70% still, and Arsenal are looking threatening going forward so far this season. Kane is definitely worth a shout. It would mean dropping De Bruyne down though, and I don't think the combination of a 7 or 6 or 7 million midfielder and Kane is better than the likes of, say, Tony and De Bruyne. Some of the other 7 million midfielders don't really appeal to me. With that being said though, Kane looks like he's going to be consistently playing in every game on penalties, and so I will be expecting him to be picking up returns in the coming game weeks. Spurs don't really have that good of a set of fixtures though on paper. You know, Kane has been having a good season so far, but I do think, as I say, the combination of a Tony and a Mitrovic and De Bruyne is better than Kane x 7 million midfielder. Now, another option that you could consider is Ollie Watkins of Aston Villa. He seems to be the man in favour under Gerrard, and they do have some decent fixtures coming up. So if you wanted to go for a little bit of a punt, then I think Ollie Watkins could be your man. With that being said though, if you're considering, you know, Ollie Watkins or Tony is on penalties, he's on free kicks. We know he's going to be playing 90 minutes week in, week out, and arguably they have a similar set of fixtures, so the safer pick, I'd say, is Tony. But if you want to have a bit of fun for it, feel free to go with Ollie Watkins. Then finally, Arman Solanke, as we've discussed previously. I think that Solanke, I can understand the hype around him. I can understand why people are going for him. The value at 5.7 million is quite hard to ignore. They do have 3 home fixtures in the next 4, and those are favourable home fixtures as well. I just don't think he's really going to be getting very many attacking returns in those fixtures. But to be fair, all it would take is 1 attacking return in those fixtures, and you probably consider it a positive. Just consider, is the money that I'm kind of getting from dropping a Tony or a Mitrovic actually going to gain me that many points? With the upgrades, as I've said, most people are trying to get Trent in by getting Solanke, and I just don't think Trent's actually going to get you very many points in the immediate future. Finally, we look at what to do with Arsenal and Manchester City assets. Now, I wouldn't get too hung up over Game Week 12 just yet. It is a consideration if you are wildcarding. However, Man City and Arsenal are 2 of the current most informed teams in the league, and they could easily get you plenty of points in the next 3 game weeks before they do blank, meaning that if you overplan and you don't include as many Manchester City or Arsenal assets, you could actually be more worse off. We do also get 3 transfers in between now and Game Week 12 that you can use to transfer those Man City and Arsenal assets out. I think I would probably go for a maximum of 5 assets. That means that you can sort of give yourself a leeway of 1 transfer, and then you can transfer 2 of them out, meaning that you'll get meaning that you'll get a full 11 for game week 12. Now that does conclude this quick little wildcard video. This is kind of the team that I've come up with that I think if I were to be wildcarding for game week 9, then I would most likely be going for this team. Let me know down in the comments if you are thinking of wildcarding. If you have enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new around here, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.